Hello and welcome back to Nintendo Nostalgia. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black, and we are back and we are playing with power. Ryan, real quick, how are you doing, buddy? Good to see ya. Good to see ya.
I am wonderful, man. I am happy to be playing this game. I've had some time this week to go back and really dive into the stuff that we're covering today, so I am ready. I know this has a lot of secret areas and things, and a lot of things that took some time. Like, I accidentally reset my 100% file that I worked on the past, month or two. Let's just say it was really just a weekend, but and I accidentally overwrote it with I saved over one of my load points that I had done on the Switch online, and so I had to kind of like scramble to get through last week's levels, like just on the spot. And so I was not quite as prepared, but this week I am prepared. I've run through all the levels and I'm covered, actually over prepared. So, and just in case you got ahead, but I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Well, let's not waste any time like we did last week over the Game Awards. Why don't you go ahead and just kick us off? We are finishing out Vanilla Dome. We're at Vanilla Dome 4.
All right. So as we said before, we're not going to be doing any secret areas. So we're skipping past any of the areas along the vanilla path once you leave the cave area, but we're going to cover this main path, the path that Jacob's most familiar with, going through it as a kid. And I don't even remember what my original playthrough was like back when. So, but let's go ahead and get started. Vanilla Dome 4. It's a really cool level. It starts with like this. You're above the trees essentially. You have like this. It's kind of like a shadowy tree background. You can see like a bunch of trees. Just at I'd say the bottom, 2/8 of the screen, maybe 1/8 of the screen. There's black treetops, and then above that is kind of a greenish sky with twinkling stars. Really, really pretty. Just all the different sizes of twinkling stars and everything. And this level is very, very pretty, but also has some unique elements to it as well. If you go through this level when you start out, you're going to have bullet bills flying at you. They're flying all different directions. First, they start forward and backward, behind you, and forward in front of you, and you kind of have to dodge them. And you're starting out on like the mushroom-looking treetops, the green mushroom top with the white spots, kind of like the Extra Life mushroom. And then you come to this pillar that's very reminiscent of Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. That's the name of the game, right?
Yeah.
But
of course, they don't know what that is yet. We did it back in the day.
Right. It's a white pillar with like a blue to baby blue spotted, kind of like the mushroom tops platforming, but they're just this long pillars with like these green, like 3 green blades of, I guess, grass, for lack of a better word.
And red.
They're about as big as Mario, so it's a really big plant, but sitting on top of them. And then there's these bouncy limbs, for lack of a better term, that you can jump on and jump
Which
around.
Which is a key mechanic in this level, these bouncy limbs.
The further out you are to the edge, the more likely you're going to fall off of it, but also it gives you the bonus of being able to jump higher. So you have to get on the edge. And I will say that those plants that I mentioned before, they're green and they have yellow versions, so they have different colors and have red. I do want to note before we get too far in, the bullet bills, if you go through the secret area, or if you go through the, I don't know what they call the special zone, and you complete that, everything's reskinned. And we'll talk more on that later, but I did want to highlight that the bullet bills here actually change to a different enemy if you've done that special thing in Super Mario World, and they become Pidget bills. And Pidgets were in Super Mario Brothers 2. So it's kind of cool that they have a reskin callback to Super Mario Brothers 2 and Super Mario World with these Pidget enemies that take the place of the bullet bills.
I before you move any forward, I mean, I really just have to I want to just say, like, at the moment I click into the level, I mean, I think it's the most first time where I'm just kind of like, whoa, like it's like a little breathtaking, I guess, take back to your early '90s little boy era for us, but like I really it's very pretty, like you said. It's like sparkling. I have to note though, I wonder, Ryan. I don't think that that's the sky. I think that because we're in a dome, like we are in a cave. I think it's just a closer look to the cave up
It
high.
could be. Yeah,
Um,
it's very, very true. I always thought, I never really thought about it being underground. I mean, yes, it is underground, but I never really thought of that. Like, I was thinking like, oh, we're kind of like in the cave or like above it or something. But that's very, very true. I didn't think about it being still in the cave, like thematically.
I mean,
That's a
it
good point.
certainly feels like a night sky, yes, but I think that that technically would have to be because in everything else, when you go underground, you have a sparkling background like crystals and stuff.
Yeah.
I would put money on that. That was their intention.
Okay. So it's just like a
But
really big cavern,
yeah,
with all the sparkles in the background. That's pretty cool. I like that take on it. So this game
anyways,
or this level is a lot of platforming, a lot of dodging bullet bills, like I said before.
oh, constant.
And you have your usual flying Koopa Troopas running around or
Yeah.
wandering about the skies. But it's all precision platforming. If you have a Yoshi, you can kind of skip a lot of this level by grabbing a blue shell and just flying out and stuff. I believe that's I don't know. I'm playing in the modified version after you've beaten the special zone. So I don't recall perfectly if you get the blue shell in the regular playthrough. You can correct me on that one, but the first Koopa that I come to is a blue Koopa in the reskinned version. What are you seeing on that first Koopa, Jacob?
My first Koopa. Oh, let me rewind. My first Koopa. My first Koopa is red. I mean, he's just a red Koopa hovering up and down, and then.
So the perk of going through the special zone is you get some blue Koopas instead.
Yeah.
But okay, so you're right now in the level. You're doing like the bouncing platforming on the green vines on these white to blue spotted pillars.
That's a green Koopa that is floating back and forth there.
Okay, it would be the one that's walking along the ground. So,
this platforming section, real quick, like a side note, I feel like it's designed to kind of like freak you out. You know, it's like really bouncy, and you're trying to jump. I think it encourages you to want to jump really high here, because it's like, oh, you jump high when you have these, but I think the trick is, Ryan, is that
timing.
Well, it's not just the timing. There's bullet bills all over the sky. Like they are flying back and forth. So if you jump, you're actually risking yourself of taking damage. Whereas when I played through it for this, honestly, if you just walk across it and let yourself bounce, you get all the way to the other edge. You are not going to fall in a hole. You're not going to get hit by bullet bills. You're going to that's really the trick. But I think the developer wants you like, oh, these make me bounce. This is new. This is a fun mechanic. I got to do this. But in return, you're damaging yourself.
Yeah, you have to be really careful with your jumps.
Yep. So
it gets progressively harder. Like the platforms get more varied. You get higher vines, and then you get some places where there's two vines that you have to jump up, which you can jump through the vines. And you'll hit a goalpost, a midway goalpost, halfway through. It's a really tall one, but this is when the level starts ramping up difficulty, where bullet bills like appear on like 4 different directions. So 2 come from the bottom, 3 different directions. 2 come from the bottom, and then there are 1 coming back at you from the foreground, or it's either 1 or 2 will come at you from the background, and there's 1 coming the opposite direction. So they're kind of flying at you in like a hashtag formation.
Thanks. Yeah.
It makes it really hard to dodge all of that and stay in the middle window basically, so you don't get hit. And there is a secret pipe in here that you can take. So we'll go ahead and take that little aside there and go into that secret pipe. There's a blue pipe where there's a piranha plant that comes out of it. You skip the yellow pipe that you come across, the piranha plant pops out of it, and then you go to the blue one, and you can go down in it, and this takes you to another lava level or lava area with the skulls that you can travel. You hop on it and you get some coins. There's not a whole lot there. It's basically like the previous level with the blargs. You go up. There's some verticality to it and some like brown block platforming you have to get around. It's mostly just a little area to collect some coins overall. But the walls get a little bit higher, a little bit harder to traverse. You have to duck if you're a big Mario to dodge everything. You have to jump over a high ceiling at another point. So, and then of course you get rewarded with a dragon coin at the very end, and you can go through a pipe. Now it's very reminiscent of Super Mario World 1, where you go into the pipe and it goes into the wall and then it goes straight up. It's very, very reminiscent of that. Okay, I need to backtrack now after going through that little side.
I mean, if you don't go down the pipe, your traditional route is going to be like once you get through there, you're facing more of the hashtag bullet bills. And then you come to a point where if you're still big, you can get like fire flower, which I recommend that you really want to do this because these bills, they don't stop. They keep moving with you. So it's like, if you can't dodge, you're really setting yourself up to get hurt. There is a small platform off of a plant that's got a lower bouncy branch that if you press it too hard, you're going to over jump. If you press it just right, you can squeeze through these little tiny platforms of on mushrooms. And then there's just a row of blocks, question block with lots of coins. If you hit the one with eyes, it's actually an extra life. So if you know what you're doing, if you've played it, most likely if you have not played it or you've forgotten, you're going to hit it and you're going to lose this extra life because it pops up and immediately goes. You really have to just hit it, sprint back, jump up because it's a short mushroom. You got room and then you can sprint across and catch it just before it falls off. It is. You can also
hit one of the blocks underneath of it to bounce it the other direction.
Yeah, if you time it right, you are correct. But not everyone's as skilled as you, Ryan.
I've never gotten the rundown or got hit in those last two question blocks. I don't know if there's anything in them. They've always taunted me.
But I'm not sure
they hang out just over the edge. You can't really hit them very easily. If you're really good, you can probably hit it with a shell on the one side, and then maybe you can clip the edge of the other one to see it. But I don't know if I want to risk my life just to figure that out.
Yeah, nah, don't do that. But then, I mean, really, once you get past that, then that gets you right back to the pipe that you were just coming out of from going
for the secret. Yeah.
So you can continue from there. You got a green Koopa Troopa in your way, and that's about it at that point.
I did want to comment when the coders put Pidgeot Bill in, when it goes cross the 4 cross, they didn't code the bullet bills that go upward.
Oh.
To be Pidgeot bills. They didn't actually make a Pidgeot bill that flies upward, and so those are still bullet bills. They don't actually get skinned, the ones that come in from the bottom, which is kind of funny. They just left that part out.
Whoops, someone got lazy. It was the final crew working on the game there.
Like they could have just turned the sprite sideways and they'd been good, but I think that was probably just a new mechanic they had to have done.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know why they missed that in the code, but perhaps a glitch. But yeah, you have a larger gap you have to jump across between bouncy vines, and there's a Koopa Troopa flying up and down in there. But once you've cleared that final pillar, then you'll jump up and you'll catch that goalpost and break the tape and exit the level. So that brings us to the end of Vanilla Dome 4 and on into Lemmy's Castle.
Oh boy.
Lemmy's Castle, let me tell you, this was a difficult one, but also very, very charming and unique. So this level starts out, you're over a lava pit in the castle, and you've got a ton of those yellow blocks. You don't want to use Mushroom Mario to spin jump here, otherwise you're going to have to get through this whole thing spin jumping over a lava pit. It's not fun, let me tell you. So how do you get down? You'll be tempted to do that if you're big. Like you want to do the spin jump to break the blocks, and but what the trick is, there's an enemy that appears this whole level that is that basically makes those blocks turn into other things. It uses magic. It looks kind of like the I don't know, I always call them the PlayStation symbols. Forgive me. But it's like a triangle, a square, a circle, and a triangle, a square, and a circle with sparkles. It shoots magic at you basically, And if it hits you, you lose a life or you get shrunk down. But also, it turns the blocks into enemies or coins and different things. So you want to basically use this enemy, this magic casting enemy who's so well known in the series, to basically get rid of these yellow blocks to give you ways to get to the lower yellow blocks. So you've got two rows at the beginning there. I don't like, I have trouble pronouncing his name.
Kamek is what I would say. I'm wrong, whatever.
I've heard Kamek, I've had Kamek. I say Kamek just because it reminds me of Kamehameha. He's a blue, he's a Koopa Troopa with, I guess he's considered to have glasses on, but he's got like a wizard hat and a wizard robe, and he's got a wand. I don't know if that wand is a callback or not to Super Mario World 3, but it might be. But I do like that he casts the magic, and he teleports around different places. So he's random spawning. He will shoot his magic at the angle that you're at based on where he is, so you can use that to your advantage when he teleports down below to cast magic at you from above. It'll hit one of the blocks and give you an opening to drop down below. It's weird. There's a dichotomy to this level where once you get past the lava, you get to water, and there's still a lot of those like yellow blocks smattered throughout. But you're on these like wooden logs that sink into the water. It's really juxtaposition with the lava that you were just dealing with. And there's a P-switch that you have to figure out how you're going to use or what you want to use. But all this time, you have to still dodge that Kamek's, magic.
He's following you around. He's really annoying.
So you have like that water and the lava all together. There is a secret with the P block. If you clear the coins in front of the door, you can, before you hit the block, you can get a platform to go up to this door that is basically the coins become the platform, but you have to clear it out. Otherwise it's too high to get over that and get on top of it. But it takes you to like a midway point place. You get like an extra life as well. So it's a little bit of a respite and a save point to this
it's
long
nice.
Level.
You do that. That's great. If you don't do that, you're making your life harder.
Yeah. Do you have that? Do you have what happens after that? Because once you get past that part, you don't get to go back and see what's beyond that.
Correct. I have that. If you don't do that, or say it's the first time playing the game, you didn't realize that's what you had to do and you missed your opportunity, because back then there was no rewind features, kids.
Yeah.
You're going to go through basically a line of a lava pit. I mean, there's, you just have to be careful. It's a hazardous hallway that you have to go through, because Kamek's still going to follow you, and you're jumping over platforms, over pools of lava. Above is once you get down the hallway, you have above your head the same traditional eye blocks that you start at the level with up above. Yeah. And you're going to have lava shooting up from the pits as well too. So it's really just a long hallway of lava and trying to avoid Kamek. But if you do that, you get spit out right after what you get spit out to when you go through the save. If you don't do that, there is no checkpoint here. There is no extra life here. You just go right into the next area, which again is
patience.
It takes patience, and it's going to be it'll be annoying if you die here because you don't have that checkpoint now. You want to get that checkpoint. So, go into this this area. You mentioned patience. Why is there patience?
So there is a lot of rising and falling, basically castle wall blocks, and there's some lava elements to it, but you can get crushed here very easily. And you have to have some patience as things shift up and down as you navigate through this maze. But the real challenging part about the whole thing is you have a lot of like indestructible enemies that you have to fight as well along the way. So you've got, if you don't have a cape, this becomes a lot harder to do. But
I mean, they're not that annoying. I mean, if you just jump on them, they stay down pretty well. It's just, it's all about timing. If you jump on them, they keep
coming back up and you're trapped in the small space with them.
Yes.
So they come back. So when you start out, you go into this area and there's rising and falling blocks over a pit of lava. So you have to basically, let's say like it's in a mountain formation, and as it sinks, you've got a small area that you can stand on. But as it rises, you have a chance to get crushed by the wall above, but also the platform gets wider, so you can get across the gap. And you come across your first dry bones, and they respawn pretty quickly. It's like after like 3 or 4 seconds, they come back. And then you have another area where the thing tries to crush you, like the ceiling tries to crush you with a static bottom. And you have fireballs jumping up out of the lava as you're jumping across these pits. And then you kind of get a maze, your first maze element with the rising and falling level. I guess there's like a little like C formation at the top you can run along. So it gives you like more of a maze-like feel. Different alcoves and stuff you can go down into depending on where it's rising and falling. It gives it some varied like feel overall, like you're wandering through a maze, but it's also very treacherous, just because you have those enemies that you can't really kill unless you have a cape, and you have to go basically not keep knocking them down and crumpling them into bones before they spawn back up, while waiting for your chance to move on to the next section. And then
I will say at this point, sorry to interrupt, Kamek has, at this point, he does not follow you into this point.
Thank goodness.
He's gone, and he would be, I mean, we could do it, you know, with time, but I mean, he would be super annoying if he was in here. I mean, he already is annoying, but he would be even more because there is no like, the pathways are very locked off. Like you said, they're little tunnels. Yeah. It's like a maze. They're rising up and down. You got to time it right. And you already have dry bones, walking back and forth, and fire pits shooting up lava at you as well too when you jump. So I'm glad he's not here, but sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, that would have been a nightmare. So you come across this area of rising and falling blocks where it tempts you with a mushroom. If you dare to go down in the pit to get the mushroom.
I do it.
And it gets really, really tight, and that's the only space that you can stand in is the mushroom space. Like, it's a square. Everything else gets crushed or like closed off. But you go down there, grab the mushroom, then you can go up, and you try to exit that maze, basically, while it moves up and tries to crush you. You come to the next section. You've got some more rising and falling pillars, but you also have more dried bones to contend with. And if you're not careful, if you don't crumple them at the right times, then move on to the next section that you're working in, so then you'll have more dry bones to deal with. They'll give you a point where they give you 2 dry bones, but you can also quickly get more there. You'll have to basically time your jumps and crumple them so they don't hit you while you're waiting to move forward in the level. So you want to be really careful and intentional about when you hit the dry bones so that they don't come and bother you.
The platform right before those dry bones, I just wanted to comment. I like it because it gives a sense of like you're gonna have to take a leap of faith in a way, because the platforms are moving down into the lava, and you're like they always get submerged, and you don't want to do that. But if you stay where you're standing, you're going to get crushed. Like it comes all the way together. So you kind of have to take a leap of faith and stand on that first one, and it dips down almost into the lava, but that's where you need to be because it doesn't go all the way down. But sorry,
they pull a lot of dirty tricks where I call them dirty tricks, right? Where the dry bones are right there on the edge when you jump up to the next ledge, and so like you have to be ready to jump again so the dry bone doesn't hit you. It's really tricky there with the platform and the timing. It just makes you take your time, and you can't go fast unless you really have your timing down. Once you get past this area, you'll be greeted with a dotted green block. If you hit the green switch already, you can hit that and get a cape, which is really helpful for the fight that comes next once you go through the boss door.
Yeah, and again, may I note that if you don't do any secrets, you're not going to have that green block. That it's just going to be outlined in dots. Which again, I would put money on that most first-time players of the game wouldn't know how to have that. So again, it does make your path a little difficult. But let's talk about Ludwig. This fight, man.
Is it Lenny or Lemmy? Lemmy.
Oh,
right?
Sorry.
You're fine.
My bad. There's so many.
So you're taken to this room above lava with different positioned orange pipes, top and bottom. Like it's just they're pipes with both ends showing. And you have 3 things pop up. One of them is Lemmy, and 2 of them are dummies that pop up out of the pipes in different places, and you have to try to jump on the right one.
The annoying enemy. Freaking fireball that just keeps
yeah.
bouncing
There's a
around.
fireball in that area that bounces back and forth. You have to dodge as well. It making it harder. You have to time your jump, but also avoid the fireball that bounces around the walls. And your goal is to hit Lemmy 3 times. And when you hit him that final time, he'll drop through the bottom pipe that he was in and go right into the lava, clearing the level.
Certainly, and just with anything, like if you got some power ups, it's really not that difficult to fight as long as you understand like what he's like, what to do right away. It's pretty simple. If you're lucky enough to like be able to stand right where he's popping up, you can really knock him out easily and then move on.
So once you beat
I like
castle,
the animation. I like the cutscene after this one.
You're in a cave background, which is kind of cool, and the ground is kind of cave colored. You've got stalactites and stalagmites in the background, and you just get the castle underground.
Yep. And read the. Do you have the wording pulled up for that?
I do, yeah. Mario has triumphed over Lemmy Koopa of Castle Number 3. Mario's quest is starting to get much more difficult. Have you found the red and green switches yet? Big tease. If you don't have the switches yet, you got to go back and try to find them. And those were a pain to find as a kid because I had to go back and find them. Like, no, I missed switches. Oh no, where are they?
Which again only proves my point that the developers did not anticipate for people to have that stuff yet when you were a newcomer to this game.
Yeah. A lot of secrets to find. There's a lot of layers to this game. And I like, if you have the time, like do it without a walkthrough and like discover things. Like if you have the time to do that, like when you're a kid and you get to have all the time in the world to play things over and over and over again with time over a summer, and through the playground talking to kids, like to help you get past parts. It's really a great experience. In this particular castle, the cutscene, Mario a la Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong, Mario whips out a mallet, a hammer, and goes to town on the ground and foundation of the castle, crumpling it all the way down. Yeah. And this particular egg is a yellow Yoshi egg.
Yellow Yoshi.
He crushes the castle, and the white flag goes up, and the Yoshi egg bounces up and down, says, "Thank you."
Then we're going down this pipe that we've been working towards since the moment we walked in. You see those green pipes, and you're just like, I got to get there. So now it's I would like to talk about the transition. At this point, Ryan, we've been in this dark dome, and it's gray. I mean, the colors of it, it's gray. It's like a cool, cold looking, darker blue. The levels we just played were all dark. We mentioned, the Vanilla Dome 4 felt like it was a night starry sky, but everything was it just dark. And when I know for me, the moment I walk out through this pipe, it's kind of like a jolt to my eyes, a jolt to my I guess excitement. What's always drawn me as a kid that I've loved about Mario, from Mario 3, I especially from Mario 3 and then Mario World and so on. What I've always loved about Mario is the bright, cartoony colors of the game, and we finally get to just pop right back out into this bright world that we have been traversing in at a higher elevation now. Obviously, I just want to comment. Like you see. You're on a small bridge. Your cheese bridge area is the next level we're going to start. But before we go into it, like, at least somebody coming from a nostalgic, who had nostalgia for Mario 3 as a kid, I found it fascinating because I finally thought there's something familiar in this game, of something of old that I had. At this time, when I'm playing the game, I only had the NES, the original Nintendo. We had Mario Bros. 3. That's why this game was always so fascinating to play at Traven's, because it was just the evolution. It was what was next, and we didn't have that. But immediately when you walk out, like up at the top left in water, I'll tell you, for me, I was always like, whoa, like, I want to get there. And obviously, this is a secret, which we will cover at a different episode. But there's a mini castle that represents, what mini bosses would be. And I remember playing those all the time in Mario Bros. 3, and that always fascinated me. I was like, oh, I really want to get there, because that, to me, that was a level of familiarity, something that I grew up as a kid only having access to, and I wanted to see it in this world, what it looked like in this world. But there's no, I don't know how. I mean, you got that little one, and then there's just a big open space. And there's at this number 4 sign, you got that's Ludwig. Sorry, that's why I said that earlier. No, we're moving into Ludwig's castle, but there is no foreseen path of how to get up there from a basic path. So we have to go to Cheese Bridge area, which, by the way, World 4. This is World 4. This whole bridge is called the Twin Bridges.
Okay,
but
I never knew the name of it because they don't really mention it in the level names.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that this is the world. I kind of feel like this is just a transition from here to connect you over here, but it is developed. It is dedicated as World 4, called the Twin Bridges, which right now I only see one little bridge, so I don't know what they're talking about, twin bridges. So, but Ryan, give you back the reins here. Take us into the Cheese Bridge area level.
Okay, this first area in Cheese Bridge, it puts you in the clouds. Like the background is all clouds.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And you're standing on wood log planks.
It feels
joined together,
just like Mario 3. This is all Mario 3 aesthetics.
Yeah, and this is you jump on a wooden platform and it moves along. You jump on 3 of them, and it moves along a track, winding in different configurations. And you've got some enemies you have to contend with. You've got these saws. These saws that are like machines.
On motors,
on motors. It's really strange. But they're... they make this like ticking sound. And there's like little smoke coming out of them. And they're like blue machines with some knobs and stuff on them. But then like these rectangular, but they're almost like they cone out in their shape, saw blades that kind of vibrate back and forth, up and down, and you have to dodge them because there's some verticality to them. They're about like 2 Mario sizes tall, and while you're on these winding platforms, taking different winding paths, you have to dodge these saws. And if you're on the bottom row, like you have 3 different levels above you that you have to dodge the saws as well. If you're on the top, you have a lot more of the saws to deal with, but there's some hard platforming to do there, to time everything with all the different wood planks moving on different trajectories, different paths, winding. And if you're the unfortunate one to be standing on the bottom one, that one drops off early, and you have to take a leap of faith to get over to the platform before you fall and die. But there's also a saw right there waiting for you on that second platform. You have to kind of dodge before you make the jump. And then the second one, it'll dump you right above the wood platform. And the other one, the final one, will take you up and above, and you can hit the goalpost to get the halfway point for this level. So you're dumped out onto this wood log bridge, as you saw in the beginning, and you have a question mark block sitting there. If you hit the question mark block, wings sprout out of it with sparkles, and they just kind of float.
Still to this day don't know what those wings are for. Please enlighten me.
If you have a Yoshi, Yoshi will don the wings and will fly up into the clouds, and Yoshi will actually be transformed into a purple Yoshi. The whole level you can fly through the clouds up above, the whole area up that you're taken to, you can fly above it, and you'll send in the cloud. You get a purple Yoshi from then on, that can fly if you have a shell in its mouth. And but during the whole time, you can fly unrestricted. You just hold down the jump button, or or maybe it's the A button, and you just fly. As long as you hold it down and you let go of it, and you'll float back down. And you fly through the clouds, collecting coins and dodging the enemies and things. It's basically a quick shortcut to the level. And it's another way to leave, basically. It lets you skip all that stuff. There's a couple areas that have those wings. But if you decide not to go on that, there is a rope that you're presented with. And just like the blue machine with the smoke, these ropes are tied to those, like what were on the saw blades, only the rope is hanging down from below. And it moves along this wire track, and it moves back and forth, side to side, and you can jump on it and take it for a ride. And it'll get you to the next platforms. They give you a couple of them, and then at some point they'll give you more to jump back and forth between. Very reminiscent of Donkey Kong Jr.
Yeah.
There is a blue pipe that you can go down, and it takes you to one of those mushroom areas, not dissimilar from Area 4 in the Vanilla Dome with all the bullet bills. Only this time they go crisscross.
Yeah.
And yes, the crisscross ones are bullet bills. They're not Pidgeot bills this time. But so it'll dump you out of an orange pipe, and you'll end up in the mushroom top motif, but you still have the cloud background going down. Let's see here.
I mean, and that if you go, whether or not you stay above or you take the purple pipe, honestly, this level's pretty simple. I mean, both ways. Like you pretty much come at the very end of this level. And I wonder if this level is pretty simple for the fun fact, Ryan, that this, I think that pretty much ends this level. You go through that area either way, and then you can end and you can move on, and you're like, that's pretty simple, man. I'm only like one level away from the castle. However, we know that this game is full of secrets, and we did feel it necessary to talk about this secret simply for the uniqueness of this level, and it makes this pathway a little bit more complex. But Ryan, how do we find this secret? This level is easy, I think, because there is a secret in it that leads to something a lot more grand.
Yeah. I mean, easy is a strong word, because you'll get on a series of ropes that you go along the tracks that you hold on. So you can go up and down, crawl up and down. And as you're going through this section, there's a lot of shorter wire sections with those saws going back and forth. So you have to go up and down this rope to dodge these saws and to time it, because some of them are going back and forth, some are going up and down, and so you have to try to like squeeze your way under them or decide if you need to go all the way up to the top to avoid getting hit by the blades. And then once you get to the end, the rope just kind of drops off and falls into a pit. And you have two platforms, and you can jump and hit the goalpost. However, and now in this was the number one secret for me, like as a kid, that I could never could figure out, never could find. The Cheese Bridge area had a red dot on the map. So there was a secret exit. I could not figure out where the heck it was. I went through it so many times. I got the Yoshi, I flew up into the clouds, did not get this secret exit. I could not figure it out. And come to find out, you have to be like top tier good with the cape to do this secret. So basically what you have to do is you have to have a cape, and you have to have running space, where you grab the feather, you take you find a platform of logs that's long enough for you to run and jump and do the be able to fly, and you launch up into the sky, and you have to do your timed perfect bounces to keep Mario up in the air, to fly above all of the rope area with all of those saw blades. If you hit the saw blades, it doesn't kill you immediately. You break out of your flying stance and you kind of flutter down in a spiral slowly. But most of the time you're going to end up in the pit when that happens. So you want to get above those saw blades by timing your bounces while you're flying up. But at the very end, you have to do a dive bomb to get below the cloud, or to get below the goalpost, and fly up underneath of it. There's an actual arrow behind it that you can actually fly up underneath of it and then curve back up with your cape to get another goalpost at the end. It is super hard to do. Like, you've got to be, again, you have to be perfect at your flying skills to get this, because the dive bomb and the flying up underneath and then just arcing back up again, the further you dive bomb, the more air you're going to get going back up. And so you have to come at it from the very top.
So what would you recommend to get your start run?
So you've got a tiny window where you can do the dive bomb, or you'll hit the platforms, or you'll hit the mushroom platforms, or you go too wide and you'll hit the goalpost platform. So
oh gosh, I'm trying to do it right now for fun, and I tell you what, there's no way 4-year-old me was doing this.
No way.
This is stupid hard. And how did anyone even discover this? Like, you have to go underneath the
hint
final.
was the arrow. The arrow past the signpost. That's the hint.
Landing, like getting enough air to land, to dive bomb, and then to go in. Oh, I did it. Yay. And there's a moon.
Awesome. I'm glad you did it because that was the hardest exit. I think that's the hardest exit in the game. Easily. That was the one that plagued me the most. I could not get to work. It was so hard.
Well, I just want to know, I did this because I just rewind like 1,000 times for the sake of the show.
Yeah.
You can't rewind in the 90s, kids. You're going to die and fail and lose your power-ups a million times. So you have got to be an expert at this.
My recommendation, if you're going to tackle this secret, is to beat the level the first time the regular way, then run through the level again, and hit your midway point goal. And then if you miss your timing, hit the pause immediately, hit the minus button to exit the level, and then go back into it right from the midway point goalpost and try again, and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying until you get it. It's really, really tough to do. But this takes us down into the Soda Lake area.
Soda Lake.
And I did not want to skip this. Yes, it's kind of a secret exit, but this is so much a part of this level. So this world is basically the water world of Mario World. And so this is where you actually go down into the lake and experience a new experience in this game, a new enemy. Basically, it is underwater bullet bills. They are torpedoes. Torpedo Teds is what they're called. And they're dropped out of these huge these black boxes, very similar to the skull and crossbones to like your bullet bills. But it drops these torpedo, like bigger looking, longer propeller driven torpedoes.
Dropped down by hands. Mickey Mouse's hand.
Yeah,
too.
Mickey Mouse's hand. Yeah, exactly. That drops them, and they'll home in, or they'll go in a straight line towards the direction that you are. So you have very, very bullet bill like. So you got to go through and do swimming mechanics, dodging these bullet bills that are indestructible, while also like watching out for cheeps and other fish enemies. And there's some times where like the bullets will come and you're like, I don't know if I can get past there. And so this teaches you that you have a window. If you go too far down, you'll die. Like you'll fall into a pit and you'll die, like the abyss. But you can fly just off the screen underneath to get underneath these bullet bills and avoid the difficulty here. Oh my goodness, it's
annoying.
They start out when they come out with like a short burst of speed, and then they rev up and they go faster and they charge you. So you have a lot of like floating just below the point of no return where you'll die to get basically underneath of these torpedo Teds, while dodging other torpedo Teds. Like there's a bunch of them just along the whole area. And there's dragon coins that tease you to swim up and around and things, but
I need to notate. I need to comment on, even though when you're swimming, because like you're trying to figure out how to get past these guys. If you stop swimming, and I believe this was a mechanic in Mario 1 maybe as well, like for the original Mario Bros. But if you stop swimming and you let Mario kind of float, he doesn't just float down. Like the longer you let it go without a flutter, he starts to go down even faster. Like it's like gravity is pulling you down to try to kill you. So you have to be very cautious when you're doing this. You need to make sure that you flutter. You got to find the right rhythm. You got to flutter at the right time to avoid getting hit and getting around these dudes, but by also not going too low and getting killed.
And the water area is really pretty. It's got like wiggling the backgrounds. It's got like wiggling seaweed, purple and green seaweed with like these crystalline like coral like structures in the background, and a water. And there's like fish swimming by, multicolored fish of different fish. Like there's pink and blue with pink and blue stripes and things. Kind of floating along, heading towards Mario the whole way. Like you're swimming against the stream. So there's a lot of motion and movement going on. So you pretty much have to drown out the fish moving in the background and the waving. It's more just visual distraction.
Yeah, they're kind of just there. A fire flower is great to have in this level to just knock out the ugly looking fish.
Hey.
I mean, they're not very pretty.
Yeah, they look kind of silly, yes. Yeah, there's just... It's frustrating if you don't have the timing on the swimming down. It really is. But if you have the timing on the swimming down, you can get there pretty swiftly. It's just a lot of basically running a gauntlet of dodging obstacles that are like swimming at you. There is a point where you'll come across like a wall of the fish like coming at you.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for them to pass by. And then you have this part where it's like low ceiling. If you're not Little Mario, you're not going to get through that, where there's like a bunch, like there's 3 different levels or like steps, if you will, from the ceiling of Torpedo Ted's being launched at you. And when it lets go of the Torpedo Ted, it drops like a Mario's length. Yeah,
wherever you're at, it'll come. That's when it comes at you.
It drops and then it comes at you. So if you're Little Mario, you can just like walk underneath of them, but it's really tight. And you go through the pipe, you leave the area, and you come up to the goalpost. And you finished up with Soda Lake. Soda Lake does not have a secret exit. However, Soda Lake does take you to this level, Star Road, if you beat it.
Yep. Which
and that was the coolest discovery for me as a kid, was finally figuring out that and knowing that you could actually go into the lake. I was like, oh, Mario went and like is actually swimming in the lake, and then like when you beat it, like you actually go swimming. You go down a waterfall and you go around and up into the Star Road right by the where basically the final area is. But you can go up the Star Road. It's a really cool area.
It is, because you like, what? You're going in a turf that you did not know you could even do. There is no path.
Yeah.
Everything is guiding you along. And this is at this point, it's like,
it was the last great mystery. I've done everything else in the game except for that one secret exit. I could not figure it out. And, it was just such a reward to get down there and see the Torpedo Ted. I remember like getting to the end of the game and they do like the roster of all the enemies. And they mentioned Torpedo Ted. I'm like, I never saw that. What is that enemy? Like, where's that? I didn't even know. Like, it was so cool.
Yeah, after that area, well, I think we should stop here, Ryan, and continue with Cookie Mountain the next time we go. I know we're like, it seems like what the trend is, we're stopping 2 episodes short. I guess that's just the structure that these episodes are going. So we'll pick it back up with next time there. But Ryan, why don't you just remind everybody where they can find us, and we'll close it out.
Sure thing, man. You can always find our show on our podcast catchers: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Pandora Podcasts, limited episodes on YouTube. Find us on our socials at Facebook at Nintendo NOS. You can also find our Nintendo Nostalgia group chat. If you want to hop over there, do a search for us and request to join. You can also, we have some content on Nintendo NOS. We don't have any new content on TikTok right now. Our social media manager has moved on to their own podcast. So we are currently not doing any of new content on TikTok. But I personally don't have TikTok, and I don't know if Jacob does either. We're ADHD people, and it would be bad for us and our time if we downloaded it. So we may look into getting the social media manager to do some TikTok videos for us. But thank you so much for Josh and all the work that he did for that. You can find us on X Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. You can also find us on Instagram at NintendoNOSIN. Shoot us an email at NintendoNostalgiain@gmail.com. You can call us on our Nostalgia hotline, share your memories, and show us some love at 317-969-5690. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Another week of our in-depth review of Super Mario World. And we will catch you next week for a lovely Christmas episode. Later, Preston.
See you then, guys. Bye.